Zenless Zone 0 review from IGN. For those of you that don't remember, they reviewed Wuthering Waves and gave it a 7. They said here it was good, but in the video they did nothing but talk about how bad it was. Now, this was the most hated Wuthering Waves review that genuinely pissed a lot of people off. I opened up the dislike viewer because I was curious to see how many people were upset with their Wuthering Waves review. It had an 80% dislike ratio for Wuthering Waves. 80%! Because they did barely anything in the game and they complained about everything. That is what happened with their review. Join me every Friday and Saturday at noon EST over on Twitch at Stix and Mrs. Stix. 7 is a good rating, although they said a lot of bad. Exactly. They were like, this is bad, this is bad, this sucks, this is terrible. 7 out of 10. And you're like, what? That's like quite a bit above average. So it got an 80% dislike ratio with 3,500 dislikes. I want to check the Zenless like to dislike ratio just because I'm curious how badly it was received, but I don't want it to like influence my opinion of their video. But I kind of have to, right? All right, so here we go. Oh no, oh, okay. Yeah, here we go. We're gonna check. 31% dislike ratio already. Oh no. Oh no. What did they say? So we're at a 30% dislike ratio already. IGN is farming the dislikes. They are. How much do we bet they were given like a max level account and just played the game on a very surface level? Now I will point out here, I am almost level 30, account level 30. Why can't I full screen this? Almost account level 30 in Zenless so far. I played it every single day. I am nowhere near far enough through it to give it like a full review myself yet. But I'm playing it every day, so eventually when I push far enough through it, I can give an adequate, sufficient review.
Playing with nostalgia.
But they did give Wuthering Waves a 7 and say everything about, well, a lot of the game was very bad.
Laden imagery from the early 2000s, Zenless Zone Zero sees developer Hoyoverse pivot gracefully from the fantastical settings of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail into an enticing urban dystopia. It's a universe where you'll duke it out in glitzy real-time fights as a trio of streetwear-clad agents, solving simple puzzles as their handler between to help them navigate a labyrinth of encounters.
Okay.
And that's before you get to the carousel of social side activities layered on top. A mouthful of tasteful influences combined into something effortlessly stylish, but also a bit inconsistent, occasionally undone by a lack of depth. Yet,
lack of depth. I think only with regards to the story. I think that is only where that really applies. I think the story is very drawn out, very convoluted. I think the story could have been condensed into I don't know, they could have shortened it significantly by condensing the story significantly, but I think that's the only thing that really lacks depth. Like the combat is, I know people often say, all you have to do is hold your left mouse button, but I mean the combat in Zenless is so much deeper than what most people will ever even realize. Even myself.
It got its hooks into me regardless. Its relentless charm compelled me to keep fighting, one combat puzzle, a bowl of ramen at a time.
Okay. Let's not forget how trash Wuwa 1.0 story was. I'm not comparing the story to Wuthering Waves. I've pointed out the inconsistencies with Wuthering Waves stories. I've also pointed out the inconsistencies with Genshin Impact's 1.0 story. I thought that was also kind of boring. Now, I do think Honkai Star Rail was one of the few gacha games that I played, Honkai Star Rail and Nikke, that really had very compelling introductory stories. I think they're probably the only two games where, like, within the first hour, you're like, okay, I'm interested.
Zenless Zone Zero takes place in a world where monster-filled pocket dimensions called Hollows have devastated civilization. While much of
Dude, Miyabi is such a cool character.
Humanity has been wiped out, the cyberpunk bastion of New Eridu survives through a fraught codependence with the Hollows and the valuable resources found within.
I actually thought this was such a cool cutscene.
Wise, a brother-sister hackadoo with a knack for navigating this dangerous territory, tackling commissions from a roster of lovable rogues searching for the next big score. It's a unique and gritty setup that, while convoluted at times, kept...
There she goes. She said convoluted exactly. That was my exact point. The story was a little bit convoluted. That word for word. There we go.
Engaged by testing my strategic intuition across a smorgasbord of challenges I became hungry to best.
No worries.
I haven't
Already
seen Jay,
convinced
no.
two problem children. It's time to hear what this guy has to say.
Your brawling excursions embark from the retro tech-strewn back room of the siblings video rental store. Here, you'll pick from an impressive roster of unlockable agents to make up a 3-person party and then dive into the perilous hollows, trading success and XP for upgrade resets.
Perilous, she said. She said perilous. Oh yeah, for the most part, filled with peril, 100%. Yeah, so dangerous. I think most people's complaint was, oh my god, the game is so easy.
I soon found an affinity for the ones from the faction called Victoria Housekeeping, thanks to their charming British
For Victoria Housekeeping. I wonder why.
Reflections and battle-made outfits. My personal favorite of the bunch, the shark-tailed Ellen Jo, swipes and slashes with an icy blade, stacking elemental debuffs on enemies and dropping blasé quips in the process.
Get blessed!
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, most of the characters have pretty effective quips, pretty well thought out quips.
While the makeup of your dream team will largely be in the hands of the Gacha gods, as characters are unlocked through the genre's usual method of randomized pulls, it's handy that story missions allow you to try out the cast without the need to pull them first.
At the very least, though, you do get given quite a few pull attempts over the course of like the first few weeks, so I'm happy with that. Stories all over the place, the TV screens are overused. I actually don't have that big an issue with the TVs. I think the TVs are okay. I'd be fine if there were less, but at the same time, I don't think they're, you know, excessive.
Roger that.
Despite how intense it can seem in motion, Zenless Zone Zero's combat is forgiving and approachable. You have a basic attack and a dodge for timely escapes from signposted attacks, as well as the ability to swap to other agents to avoid scrapes, parry, or compound their combos. Building an enemy's daze meter leads to a persistently satisfying chain attack where a colleague swoops in to lay the smackdown.
Target spotted!
Come on, bro! Don't stop now!
Basic and ultimate abilities round out each character's combat options, though like any good action game, there's plenty of variety available through the combination of timely button presses and latent passives.
I mean, yeah, okay. So far, I don't have any issue with it.
Challenging boss encounters surfaced to test my reflexes, though I rarely felt overwhelmed as long as I could connect the dots of my combat strategy and juggle incoming attack patterns to keep different enemy types at bay. Intricate build tinkering systems, difficulty options, and endgame content help raise the skill ceiling for challenge-hungry players. But Zenless Zone Zero seems
Wait, hold on. Endgame content? They reached endgame within the first, like, few days of the game's launch? Really? Wow, okay. That is impressive. They must have no-lifed this like nothing else. Yet they made it an hour into Wuthering Waves when they did the Wuthering Waves review. Their resonators were like level 20 and 40. And they're like, this is the game. But they made it to Endgame in Zenless? Really? That's impressive.
Intent to stay out of your way if you simply want to pick it up and do some flashy moves. Elegant animations footnote most of your attacks, down to the way domestic demon Von Lycaon gracefully lowers his metal heels after a kick. Ultimately, the focus is on indulging the fantasy of fighting with one of the wonderfully designed and passionately voice-acted characters, rather than trying to rival the likes of Devil May Cry with its combat nuance.
Oh, they mentioned the Devil May Cry similarities. Oh god, that's gonna cause drama, isn't it? Oh my god, I remember there are literal wars on Twitter right now being waged against different content creators because some are saying that the combat is just like Devil May Cry and others saying no, this is way too simplistic to be comparable to Devil May Cry. Oh.
Your shift is over!
I tried if I'm comfortable.
But I don't know, can we compare any gacha game to Devil May Cry's combat? Can we really?
With, even if it means less mechanical depth. Unfortunately, the dazzling combat is undermined by an overabundance of hacker puzzles, meant to signify the link between your team of agents and the proxy guiding them through the holo from back home. You'll be kicked into a labyrinth of chunky CRT monitors between pockets of combat, pushing a little avatar around to trigger mechanisms that lead to your next checkpoint or encounter.
Which I know is everyone's point of contention here. They all hate the TV system. I actually think it's okay, as long as it isn't excessive and there aren't too many. I think you spend like 2 minutes in the TV, 2 minutes in combat, then half an hour in cutscenes. I don't think the TV is the issue here, really.
The fuzzy aesthetics of this mode are delightful to look at, but the process feels arbitrary.
The Devil May Cry gacha game was shit.
After marching through walls of screens, I started seeking out the next encounter as fast as possible to boost my morale and return to the frenetic action sequences that actually make Zenless Zone Zero compelling.
Think of something, Roxy! New countdown, 4, 3, 2, 1 now.
Lots of
That
yapping,
hefty
yeah.
leap of taking on commissions and then venturing into the Hollow to complete them could easily be all there is, and it wouldn't feel scant. Yet, surprisingly, it only accounts for half of what's there.
Dude, this cutscene
The
was
other
so
half is a life
sick.
simulator, where you'll roam cozy suburbs, manage your hero's blockbuster-esque business, and maintain relationships with locals through dialogue-driven side stories across an atmospheric day-to-night cycle. While not strictly an open world, Zenless Zone Zero's stunning districts are thoughtfully dressed with environmental details that make them a joy to explore. From rusty
Yeah.
riverside kiddie rides to messy bedrooms and vandalized backstreets, there's attention paid everywhere you look, and it helps center you in
I do hope, though, that, like, future towns that get added, if future towns or cities do get added, are much larger, because I do think New Eridu is kind of small.
this fashion-forward science fiction world.
TV system is so fun. I'm glad
Once
you
the
think
initial
so.
excitement of exploring the Hollow started to settle, I became drawn to all the extracurricular activities I had at my fingertips. Stocking my video store turned into the nexus of my daily routines. Each morning, I'd start by pairing eclectic videotapes from my collection with
Going
the genre
through
demands
puberty.
of the public. After that, I'd need to venture outside in search of better merchandise,
Berserk, what's
completing
up?
tasks for locals like solving quirky riddles or taking editorial pictures in order to earn my VHS reward. That symbiotic process worked well to funnel my attention towards the different social activities. Not to mention, the money provided by running my business certainly helped fund my story mission exploits. This side of Zenless
I don't know,
Zone
I tend to just, like, click whatever. I don't bother putting, like, investing any thought into it whatsoever.
Zero isn't quite as focused as something like the Persona series it's so clearly inspired by, so there are some dull spots. But it offers an engaging workload to log in and tackle daily nonetheless. All of your activities are tied together via a helpful submenu called the Internet, which let me find my rhythm amid all the options I was handed. This in-game everything app quickly became my best friend, taking on the role of job finder, social media platform, and most importantly, scheduling tool.
I mean, realistically, all I use that for is I go down to the thing down the bottom right, the tab, and change it from all to just a side quest, take whatever side commissions are available, do them, and then keep, and like do my dailies, do the story a little bit, then log out of the game for the day. But that's not because the game is bad, it's just because the game has so much to do.
Ensuring I wasn't completely paralyzed by the overwhelming prospect of what to
This
do
video
next.
screams
Shirking my
sponsored by
pressing
Hoyo.
responsibilities, I relished in chasing
I haven't heard her say a single negative about the game so far.
high scores at the Godfinger arcade, whose Moorish snake and spelunking minigames stole an embarrassing amount of my time.
Really?
But the funny and sometimes profound sub-stories left the biggest mark, reminding me of the human stakes in this world.
The side
Easily
quests?
forgotten in a sea of adorable shopkeepers and in-game currencies, the underlying
side
frailty
quests.
of Zenless Zone Zero's post-apocalypse is always in frame. Overarching themes of displacement and corruption come through in the cinematic story and the design of its city wards, which range from dilapidated to gentrified. Given the unusually generous nature of the review build Hoyoverse provided access to ahead of release, which made all currently released characters available right away, it was
Oh! Okay, there we go. There we go. Did you guys hear that?
justified.
Here, let me raise the volume so you can hear.
Given the unusually generous nature of the review build Hoyoverse provided access to ahead of release,
I got a review build of the game.
which made all currently released characters available right away,
Every character was immediately unlocked.
it was difficult to get a clear picture of how Zenless Zone Zero's progression systems will feel
So we don't actually know how good or bad or annoying the gacha is.
long term. Nothing I've seen looks wildly out of line with the developers' other gacha games. But starting again on a new account after
So we just have everything given to us, and then we just play through, like, what's available at the end of the game, and then we base our entire review off of that bit of end review game content? Really? They're all level 1? Yeah, they were probably given, like... So, when you get given a review build, you typically tend to have, like, a lot of currency, or you get given all the materials you need to ascend and upgrade your characters and everything. That's probably what they were given, just so they can experience it as a feature. So, like, here are all the upgrade materials, here's all the currency you need to do everything. Just, you know, familiarize yourself with the mechanics a little bit so your review can at least seem somewhat well educated.
launch has meant getting accustomed to the grind in a more organic live service setting.
I'm sorry.
Regardless,
So they didn't actually push through the story, they didn't actually push through all the game modes, they didn't actually experience the game like your average gamer does, like you or me does. Like when I reviewed Wuthering Waves, or when I did my like day 1 or day 3 impressions of Zenless Zone Zero, I had played it. I'd played both games for dozens of hours. right? When I cover Brown Dust 2, Snowbreak, I've played these games for dozens and dozens of hours from level 1 to whatever level I make it to. I'm not given an endgame build where I don't get to experience the buildup of everything and work hard to attain everything I attain to actually do the dedicated review on.
I forged a strong attachment to this rich world and its cosplay-friendly characters by the end of the main story.
They haven't experienced hardly anything.
What are you all waiting for? Go after it!
And left
They call
feeling
it
that
a
this
dupe?
ambitious pivot certainly lives up to the high
Yeah.
standards set by Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail.
Wait, did they say, wait, did she say it lives up to the standard set by Honkai Star Rail and Genshin? Is that what she said? Hold on.
And left feeling that this ambitious pivot certainly lives up to the high standards set by Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail.
Lives up to the high standards of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. I mean, is this as high quality as Honkai Star Rail? I think Honkai Star Rail has set a new standard for gacha games. It is even higher quality than Genshin Impact is. I think Honkai Star Rail has become like the symbol in the genre of quality, actual quality game. I don't think Wuthering Waves, I don't think Zenless are of that same quality overall, which I know is gonna piss off some people, some Wuwa fans and some Zenless fans that are watching this on YouTube and are like, how dare you? But I think, no, this definitely did not live up to the high standards of Honkai Star Rail at the very least. I do think that it is a pretty polished game, but I do think Star Rail is better.
Hey.
It's high quality, yes, but not as good as Honkai Star Rail or Genshin. Yeah, that pretty much verbatim what I said, right? So yeah.
You here to play?
By leaning into
The dick rating by IGN is astronomical. They were definitely paid for this review. It's unreal that they criticize so heavily Wuthering Waves, including how boring the world was, how boring the side quests were, how boring, like, how bare bones and basic the combat was. But then in this, when they're given everything, they do nothing but talk how highly everything is, how in high regard everything is, you know, like how perfect every mechanic is. It's unreal.
early 2000s nostalgia and blending it with a stylish vision for the future, Zenless Zone Zero crafts an inimitable world that's easy to get invested in. Exploring new Eridu and getting to know this charming cast both in and out of combat was a thrilling ride I was keen to keep at for hours on end. It's not necessarily as
I was keen to continue exploring this world for hours on end, even though they unlocked everything and I didn't have to do anything at all.
deep as many of its gameplay inspirations, and momentum-killing hacking puzzles can sometimes sour the mood, but with exhilarating, approachable combat and many extracurricular activities to take care of, it was always easy to turn a corner and get swept up in the captivating culture nonetheless.
Oh, they rated it 8. They rated it great.
Yikes.
An 8. Oh my god.
Fucking yikes.
Oh my god. I don't think this is an 8 worthy. I feel like there aren't many games in IGN that are rated an 8. This is definitely not worthy of an 8. I don't think, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I don't think Wuthering Waves deserves an 8. I don't think this deserves an 8. I don't think gacha games in general really are of a caliber worthy of an 8 rating. No way. Gacha games are predatory. They're typically vastly inferior in terms of content. Like, to like AAA budget, like the really, really good games. I feel like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone rate a gacha game like a 10 out of 10. But there are definitely plenty of people that rate, you know, console games or PC games 10 out of 10. I think an 8 is being very generous with Zenless. I'm actually kind of shocked that they did nothing but compliment every aspect of the game, when if you ask anyone at all, they have genuine criticisms about something, right? There's something they don't like. They don't like the combat. They don't like the excessive use of like lolly characters. They don't like the bloated story. They don't like how small the world is. They don't like how much the characters talk. They don't like the TV system. They don't like, there's something, genuine things that they dislike about the game, even though they really enjoy it, right? This was like, they should have given this pretty much a 10. They said everything was great. Like, everything was fantastic. That is unreal. I understand why, you know, it has a 31% dislike ratio already.